Hi there, it's Linda Behrens here with the first of our 16 personality types that we're going to take a look at. The type we're going to look at today is known thematically like the analyzer operator. And for those of you who are used to the type code name, it is ISTP. So we're going to take a look at that and see if we can understand a little bit more about this pattern. So just bringing this back to you from the intro, there are three different lenses that we use where there are patterns: 4 interaction styles, 4 essential motivators, 4 intentional drivers. And anyway, if we look at all of these 3 lenses, we can understand each of the 16 personality types as a holistic type with a pattern of its own. And then we can take a look at cognitive dynamics. So moving along here, we're going to just look at this theme. So if we just look at the 16 personality types as a whole, the analyzer operator, ISTP, these words, and they work better somehow when they're together than if they're in bullet points. So actively solving problems, observing how things work, a talent for using tools for the best approach, a need to be independent, act on their hunches or intuition, understanding a situation, taking things apart, making discoveries, sharing those discoveries, and unsettled by powerful emotional experiences. So this last item is a sort of sort of how people get kind of on the negative side of the pattern. Taken as a whole, this is, excuse me, this is the theme of this personality pattern. Now let's look at this lens, look at this pattern through the essential motivator lens. So this is the essential motivator we call improviser. And the core need for the improviser is this freedom to act now, to see what needs to be done and vary your behavior to meet the needs of what needs to be done now and to make that choice yourself. There's an ability to make an impact is also an important core need. The values the core values center around action, skill for performance, variety, aesthetics, and fraternal relationships. And those are just a few of those core values. And the talents are tactics. I like to say that they have tactical intelligence. And they tend to think contextually and have a knack for troubleshooting. And some of the behaviors you're likely to see with this pattern is the present orientation, really tuned in to what's here right now. Reciprocating, meaning we're engaging in the same kind of behavior. Using colorful language, something that really kind of captures the essence of something. Having a cynical attitude, which means not taking things on faith. Means, to keep a piece of doubt till you see some evidence. And one of their behaviors is fast reacting. So this is the theme, the improviser theme, and some of these characteristics look for this particular variety, look a bit like INTP. So analyzer operator ISTP sometimes can report as having intuitive preferences. If you're looking just at the 4-letter type code, they also do have a fair amount in common with the theorist pattern, but this is the core of their pattern and their core needs. So through another lens, let's look at chart the course. This is the interaction style, and this interaction style of charting the course is another variable that makes the analyzer operator pattern look like it has a theorist or even sometimes stabilizer essential motivator pattern. But chart the course is happening in the context of this improviser pattern. And the analyzer operator chart the course, core drives is a pressing need to anticipate. So they don't really feel comfortable unless unless they can have some sort of anticipation. They're very present oriented, and yet at the same time, they want to enter something with some sort of a plan. And as a friend of mine who has these same preferences said to me, Linda, it's not a plan of action, it's a course of action. So a course of action, can vary. And so they want to have this anticipation. And their core belief for Chart the Course is it's worth the effort to think ahead to reach the goal. So there will be some focus on what is the goal that we're trying to do. And the aim is to get a desired result. So charting a course to get there. And the talent then for this pattern with Chart the Course is to devise a plan, figure out what needs to be done, and then of course to act on that. And the behaviors tend to be focused, kind of calm demeanor, not hyperactive, as sometimes people think of improviser, but for Chart the Course, it leads to a more calm demeanor. And they tend to be direct, and they actually tend to be directing in their communications as well. So this is another view of the analyzer operator, to recognize that they sometimes have this Chart the Course energy that is really strong, that can make them look a little bit like ISTJ preferences or INTP preferences. So that's another lens that we have for this analyzer operator. The other lens is a new lens that has just emerged, which is what we call intentional drivers. And this is based on some research and clustering of descriptions. And so this intentional driver for the analyzer operator, ISTP pattern, is to customize. And there's always this quest to customize what they're doing to fit the needs of the moment, and bridging that gap between what is and what is needed. And so what they want is some differentiated outcomes, some mutuality and reciprocity, so that we're exchanging the same kinds of behavior. We're in this working together. Now, this is kind of interesting to see this working together kind of thing in the context of the improviser pattern that wants to call the shots on their own actions. But it actually makes sense in terms of this whole pattern, that they do want to solve problems, and they want to solve problems according to the needs of whatever's going on. If it's coaching, it might be the needs of the client. If it's coaching in sports, it's the needs of the team and the needs of the game. If it is developing a software program, it's customizing it to meet the requisitions. So these are three of the threads that show up in the analyzer operator, and when they all line up, we have this. We can be pretty sure that we've identified this analyzer operator as the best fit. So what do cognitive dynamics look like? Well, for them, and I use Beebe's model here, analyzing. So they're leading with analyzing. And this is really a source of confusion sometimes, because the analyzing can look very much like the ISTP analyzing, INTP analyzing, or the theorist version. Excuse me. Supporting role is experiencing. So there's this analyzing and supporting with the emerging context, what's going on right now, and playing around with foreseeing. So relief is, John Beebe calls it this puer puella, the forever child, and it's something we like to do. So there's getting a sense of here's where we need to go, and then at the same time, supporting with what's really going on here, because that's going to limit where you need to go and what do you need to do about it. And they aspire to connecting, to having these connections with people and to help meet their needs. So these are the primary processes for the analyzer operator in how they tend to, what processes they use in their thinking. The shadow processes are those processes that are they're always available, but different cognitive processes play a role in the shadow for this pattern. So what Beatty identified this as an archetype of an oppositional. So in the negative sense, someone with ISTP preferences can get oppositional in how things are broken down, how the external environment is structured, or in a logical argument. However, in a more positive thing, it often turns out to play a supporting role, supporting the introverted thinking. So analyzing, figuring out what's going on, and then putting some structures in place. And you can see how that also would feed into the chart the course patterns as well. The next that we might look at is the critical parent role. And the process that plays that for this pattern is reviewing, what we call reviewing. It's introverted sensing, which is information coming up that says, oh, this didn't work before, or this worked before. And as a critical parent in this particular pattern, the reviewing can be kind of down on themselves for not having followed the procedure or the process. It's more often directed at themselves, can be directed at others. The deceiving role is what John Beebe called the trickster role. As a trickster archetype, it's also getting caught up in the meaning of things. Interpreting what are the between the lines things that are being said, and then kind of keying in on that in a way that is not very helpful and productive. So that's what the deceiving role is often doing. We get kind of caught up in the what ifs, and the what ifs, and the what ifs is what interpreting would look like in that role. And then the devilish role, or what John Beebe called the demonic. It's sort of when we get to say, the devil made me do it. It's a common phrase that often people use. So you really did something, you didn't know what it was. And so introverted feeling is often accessed in the analyzer operator ISTP pattern as something that's like really important, and it can be real misleading. Like, it's really important for me to do this, and then they get caught up into something that winds up being their undoing. So this is the analyzer operator, ISTP. We've looked at all of the variables that we know to help us understand what the analyzer operator pattern looks like in the whole, as a whole type. So I hope you've enjoyed this little bit. It gives you a few bits and pieces to kind of put together and to actually help you get a more accurate fit for yourself, or a more accurate fit for other people you're sharing type with.